The workshop today is about future-proof skills. So first of all, we can also, for purposes of testing how to use this Jamboard, think a bit about what is your perception when you hear future-proof skills? What do you think? So in the Jamboard, what you can do is you can maybe upload a photo if you have. I will do one example. So I've just put a photo in there. I can adjust the size. I can write something. On a sticky note. I can also maybe underline something that someone else wrote that I'm agreeing with, or then I can circle something, and you can use these tools on the left side to include these items. So what do you think is a future-proof skill, or what comes to your mind when people talk about future-proof skills? You can take maybe 1 or 2 minutes to upload something or make a post-it or write something with the pen or circle or underline. Okay, so we have already some items here. Listening skills, being adaptable, being able to learn things, being able to collaborate with others, interpersonal skills, personal branding, empathy, communication, teamwork. Does someone want to elaborate about what they included there?
I put those guys that holding puzzle pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, that's about being a team player, having this team player mentality and spirit.
Mm.
And then I also added the two guys putting a building block for the bridge. And so it's very important to have negotiation skills to be able to listen to the others, to the
Mm.
opposite side, and try to formulate try to present your perspective in a respectful but effective way.
Yeah.
That's very important in any setting, including the business one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So by skills that would be future proof, we aim that the skills that we now have or the skills that we are learning, they would not get outdated, that they would be needed in the future as well. And as we see in what skills we included here, it's mostly the soft skills that fall under that category. The soft skills are skills that are future proof, and then the hard skills is more like how these soft skills support those. So, are you adaptable enough? Do you have this learning mindset? Um, and other things listed here. What is key in choosing what skills you will start learning or what skills you will put more time in perfecting is also following what is the demand in your market of interest. And by that I mean like knowing what the companies are doing, what the companies are using, what they need to solve their issues, and where are the trends also pushing the companies towards. Um, for example, it might be some new technology that everybody is adopting, or if you think of cloud services, for example, which are the most popular cloud services that the companies are using currently. So you can figure that out by looking at the demand of the companies or the field of companies that you are interested in. And we will get to that exercise very soon. But so the point is to find this niche and constantly keep up with the developments and the needs and the trends so that you will be able to keep your skills future proof. So it's a constant process, and there is no really like a magic recipe of these are the skills that I will get, and then I don't have to do anything in the future anymore. So for the next about 10 minutes, maybe a bit less, we will do an exercise of something related to market and employer awareness, as I call it. So it is a lot towards the research approach that I mentioned earlier that I really like. So how do you become aware of what the companies want so you can know then what you should put your time into learning? Um, so first thing, there's a lot of information just by Googling. So you can find from Google other types of information, such as company directories or news outlets that say more about your industry of interest. And for this, I'm taking the example of edtech companies. So I'm Googling to see about edtech companies because I'm interested to work in an edtech company. And I find the first result from Crunchbase, which is a company directory that tells me there's 4,000 companies available there. Of course, on Crunchbase, you have to either get a free trial or pay to see all those companies, but at least you can see the 5 more popular that they show at this time. And then in the news outlets, I was able to find a bit more. And then also LinkedIn currently provides a lot of choices, a lot of features to do all kinds of things that we are not utilizing to their full potential. So here, and by the way, if you have any questions at any point, you can just interrupt and ask. So on LinkedIn, I did the same thing. I typed edtech and then I searched based on that. So I was able to see the companies. I think there were about 3,000 results or something. And then I was able to see the people, like maybe I have some connections who work in edtech companies, or maybe I could contact connections of mine who know people who are working in edtech companies, or then I could just contact them without these introductions. Then there's all kinds of groups related to the subject where I can be part of and get the news when some development is happening, like a new position from some company. And then of course they have the jobs section feature where I can also select the location. Here I've searched for worldwide for the purposes of this exercise, but you can always put your location and then see what kind of results come up. But what I would do is both from the company directories and the news outlets and LinkedIn to go directly to the company's own websites. And this can take some time to do, and it can feel like you are wasting a lot of time in it, because this research can be a bit um, like time consuming, but it can bring you benefits in terms of knowing about the skills to further focus on. So what I did next is that I identified 10 companies that I was most interested in based on this search. So these were, I think, the 5 first that Crunchbase had, and then some companies that I found from my search on LinkedIn. So after that, I went to check their websites and what kind of opportunities they had available. So I found across these 10 edtech companies 287 jobs, and most of them were in 3 companies, Coursera, Udemy, and Coach Hub. And then I did this graph for you. So I was focusing on all the fields. You can, of course, select which area you fall under and then look up only the opportunities there. But I did it now for everybody's fields here. And you can see, depending on the company, some companies have more demand for sales, some for software development, some for marketing, and then design and HR, we have a bit less than that. So Udemy and Coach Hub, you can see they hire a lot of salespeople at the moment. Then Coursera, Udemy, they hire software developers quite a lot. Then I think, yeah, Coach Hub was the only company out of these that was hiring in HR. And then marketing positions were in like about half of the companies, and designers as well, quite a few positions in almost every company. So you can, from that, make also assumptions about the stage of the company and what are they focusing on right now. If they're hiring a lot of salespeople, they're focusing on growth and scaling. If they're hiring a lot of software developers, they might be in an earlier stage building their products. And then I took only the field of design. So the next slide is about the 15 most spotted skills that I found across the design jobs. So I think there were 13 design jobs across these 10 companies. And what I did was to take skills keywords out of these job descriptions, which I then added up to count like which skills were present in most of the job descriptions. There were about 100 skills overall present in these different descriptions. But then the 15 most popular were these ones listed here. And I can see here as well that clear communication was one skill that was required in almost all the jobs, and cross-discipline teamwork was also very important. So again, these are the soft skills that we were talking about that are future-proof, and then hard skills can be added to those. So based on this analysis, I can also see some of the hard skills that are required for me as a designer. For example, UX UI is very popular at the moment. I will need some tools, and most of the companies prefer the Adobe Creative Suite and Sketch. Then user research is important, prototyping. Some companies also want to see some video production and editing skills. Illustration is important, motion graphics, time management, and leadership. The leadership skill shows that many of the positions might need to be in a more senior level. So this also shows you whether you need to get more experience in your field. So let me see. Yeah, so as I said, this is a snapshot of what is currently in demand, and what I should do in order for me to gain really future-proof skills is constantly keep updating my data about it. So when I see the next job description that I'm interested in, I can add the data from that to this data set and make a new graph that will show me what is then most in demand. And in that way, I know where to focus on and what is important for the employer. And this is not only for the learning purposes, but also what keywords do I use across my LinkedIn profile and my social media and my CVs? Does it match what words the companies use? Is my branding according to what is needed at the moment? Or is there some parts that have been outdated that I'm using something that is not in the lingo of the companies hiring at the moment? Because it will be easier always for the recruiter to pinpoint these particular words and tools that they want right away in your profile. So yeah, we come back to the soft skills being very important in this. being adaptable and having this lifelong learning mindset. So it's about constantly keeping tabs with this demand. So what we could do right now is you have your own Jamboards as well, which have been populated with some data from your profiles. And you can open them on your own devices. And you will see there some information about fields, some blocks about the fields, and some blocks about countries or cities. So you can choose one from each category. The cities, countries, and fields you can also modify. If you are not interested to look into some of those, you can just edit the post-it and write something that you are interested in. And that is on the first page of your Jamboard, on the first board, and on the second board is the place where you can input the data that you will find during this exercise. So you would individually take 10 minutes, let's say, to do a little bit of research on your own and find out some information about the industry that you select in the country that you select. So you can pinpoint the players in these industries, the companies that you are interested in, and look a bit into them. And there are two categories where you can either put a post-it with the company's name, or let's say upload the logo of the company. And they would be either hiring at the moment or not hiring at the moment. And then we can see further like what we do with these two categories of companies. Is everybody on board? Do we have any questions? Okay, I don't hear any questions, so you can take the next 10 minutes to do this research, and if you have questions at any point, you can ask.
I have one stupid question.
Question.
If I understand right, that the more points you put there, then the more important, like the skill is actually. For example, cross-discipline teamwork, it has like 9 something, or yeah, 9. So it's mean it's important now in the design job.
Yeah. So the clear communication had 11 mentions, and the cross-discipline teamwork, 9. Sketch had 7. Yeah.
And it means it's more important than, for example, UX design.
Well, it might not be. It might not be more important, but there were more mentions about it. So in the 13 job descriptions, 11 had a mention about clear communication, good communication, whereas for the UX design, for example, there were 6 mentions. So half the jobs for the designers in these companies wanted UX skills. But almost all of them need for you to be a clear communicator. So it's something that kind of tells you that apart from the hard skills, there's also these soft skills that are maybe something to always think about. Okay, are we ready to share some results? What did you find out about the demand, and how do you think it impacts you? What does it mean for you? Were you able to find many companies or not so many in your field and in your country of choice?
I found many, I think 10 companies in Finland that I want to work with, but I couldn't do further than that yet. I just found the names and I put in the board. Yeah, for now I just did it.
Sounds good. Did you have a chance to check at all whether they are hiring at the moment, people with your skill set?
No, not yet.
Mm. Anybody else wants to share?
I can share. Although I was like trying to be here and there, now I'm free. My husband came, so happy and focused. Very interestingly, I find many organization who works in English in like marketing and communication. When I check them, actually, it kind of relate to already my LinkedIn profile. So it pull out all the, though I write marketing, it put out all the communication works. Currently, like looking for people to hire. But like the previous speaker was saying, I was not able to actually like study more what kind of skills they are looking for, or what kind of particular keywords that I can pick out. But in general, this is really something new that I haven't done before. I find it quite interesting. And because in Finland you feel like, okay, all the jobs in communication needs Finnish, but apparently from this search it shows that there are actually many English language. So I find about like 20 ads which are particularly looking for English speakers in those fields.
Okay, sounds good. You can then take some time to look through what they need and see if you have those skills, or if you haven't, which are the ones that appear more often that you don't have yet. So you can start focusing on getting those as well to become a better candidate for the position. Does anybody else want to share their approach and their findings?
Yeah, I put gaming companies in Finland. I got results, and I immediately spotted a few companies that I know of, and I went to their website and I found one company that has not a specific job that I have currently, but a job that my current skill set could fit well. So I will potentially apply to that one. So first I started with the industry, find a list of companies, and I went through them and see in the career section if they have any positions that match my current experience and skill set.
Yeah, that's good. And if they are currently such that you can already apply, you can go ahead with that. And if you think that you still need to fill some skills gaps, you can start doing this analysis. You can easily do it just on an Excel sheet, gather those particular skills or tools that are needed, and then add them up with every other job description that you find.
I have a question. These numbers you got, you know, from the cross-discipline teamwork, etc. How do you come up with those numbers? How do you use a software, or what's the template to find this? How many keywords were you found?
I did it also with Excel. So for every one of those 13 job descriptions, I took the required skills and some other sections of the job descriptions, and then I added up like where did the same keywords appear.
Okay. So you did an Excel. You put the keywords that you think are the most prevalent, and then you put numbers like I spotted this 5 times or 4 times, and then
Yeah, like for example, starting with one job description, you can see the skills that are required. So you can copy paste them to your Excel file. And then on the next job description, if you see the same skills, you add one more number and one more number, and the next when you see more of these skills in other job descriptions. And then you can make a graph out of them to see the outcome.
yeah, sounds good.
There are also other visualization tools, and that will be actually the topic of the workshop for May. So there we will see more about this visualization.
Sounds good.
Okay, so then you had two categories, one for the hiring and one for the not hiring. So for the ones that are not hiring at the moment, but you are really interested in, you can always follow the company so that then you will get the update when they have some available position that fits you, and also get in touch with people who are in your network, who are either working in the company or who have contacts in the company. They might be able to introduce you to someone so that you can make those connections, and then that combined with you being active in terms of your brand, them being in your network, they will see what you are doing. So when the time comes and they need somebody in your field, they will think of you if they see you being active on your social media in your own field, and if they see you as a person who has something to say in that topic. So there is the short-term approach with applying right now, but think also long-term in that way to prepare kind of the ground for these opportunities that might come to you in later time. So then if we go back to the results that we had for the designers and the joint Jamboard, we have there the soft skills, that is the next board. And I can share again from here. So these are some of the things that we already listed in the beginning as well. Communication, teamwork, and hyper-coordination, intersectional thinking, self-awareness, self-leadership, time management, empathy, lifelong learning mindset, and moldability. So all these things are very important and act as a basis for also you developing the right hard skills. Do you have any questions about the terms as you see them, or should I go through them quickly?
Yeah, moldability, what is it?
Yeah, so moldability is kind of the same as adaptability, being able to mold yourself, your skill set into something else. And this connects with the intersectional thinking, that if you see that your approach doesn't work, that you are, let's say, applying for a specific field or specific role, and for some reason it's not working, like maybe to try to change some things. Think of in your field, in your occupation, some things that you could take and apply in other fields, so that to create a niche for yourself and something that companies would find currently interesting. So yeah, it's about being able to change what you can do and adapt to the different environments as things change and companies need change and new tools come and different processes are created and different behaviors are adopted. So we will all need to adapt accordingly.
Thank you.
And what is hyper coordination?
Yeah, so that has come a lot into the limelight after collaboration, which was the big thing for a long time. But hyper coordination is because things happen so fast, and people are expecting things to happen almost instantaneously. So we also need to be very much connected, and this links with communication as well, to be able to communicate clear and fast so that we get coordinated and produce outcomes also quite fast. So as you can see, all these soft skills are also, one is related to the other and they support each other.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I think yeah, communication and lifelong learning mindset we have talked about. Then self-awareness and self-leadership are also some things that are related to this personal branding, and also then to communication, kind of like understanding who you are, so you can then be take ownership and responsibility in that field or that occupation, because employers also want to kind of like look up to you and feel like people in their organization can also learn from you as an expert in your field. So it's important to establish yourself as being a voice in something. And that comes from knowing what you are also interested to be a voice in. Then for the day-to-day work, time management is very important. And that was also mentioned quite a lot. Here is 5, so a bit less than half of the positions time management. It's important to be able to prioritize and meet deadlines. So if you are not very good at managing your time, you can also take a look into how to do it better. But maybe you can share which ones of these do you think you are good at, and which ones do you need to work on?
Can you explain a little about intersectional thinking? What is it about?
Yeah, so it's you have knowledge and skills in some field, but if there is no more demand for those skills in that field, for you to be able to recognize the opportunities in some other field and take those skills that you have and kind of rebrand them or reinvent them to fit the other fields.
Okay, makes sense.
Who thinks they are a good communicator?
Okay, I can start, and I can also reflect on my recent learning, thanks to like staying at home and getting this slow moment where you get to really understand who you are and what kind of things that you are capable of. Communication is my strong skill in terms of like workplace, with the colleagues, and with what I do. But I find it like mostly frustrating that communication lacks in many ways, where you expect that they it's like they are really good at communicating, but due to various reasons, the level of communication you expect and you get are quite different. So that kind of affect how you how you interact in the everyday work. So it's like communication with HR, communication with the team, communication within the organizations are, for the person who's trained to be a communicator, is kind of challenging. So I am learning now more uh, how to be aware of like my strengths and weaknesses, and then how to have more empathy for the things that are unknown to others. So I find it challenging, like no, I find it interesting that very recently I start to ask question when communication is interrupted. So I'm like uh, to make that clarity and to help other people learn that we have to communicate enough so that we get the work started or we get the work moving. So that is my strong side, but something I need to work on is empathy and the lifelong learning mindset. I learned every day, but I still feel like I need to learn even outside of my scope, so that you have a chance to understand more how other people are thinking, how your colleagues are doing stuffs, or you can get that empathy at the end of the day. So it's like I'm working on these two things, like empathy and that developing that lifelong learning mindset, so that we don't get so that we are like a better version of ourselves every single day.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Anybody else want to share maybe something that you are not so good at and you're trying to learn, or any struggles?
I think I need to improve all of them, but communication for me, I think it's the worst. Yeah.
You should try asking others what they think of you. They might
Yeah.
have a different opinion.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, all of them are important and very hard. And I think I'm better with time management because I'm working as a freelance for a long time. So something that I had a company before, so I had time to work on that. And learning mindset, I think this is my strongest point. I love to learn and always looking for something new to learn. But the others, I definitely need to improve.
Yeah, it's a work in progress always.
Yeah, and this is something I never thought too much before, but these soft skills, they are very important. And I'm starting to be aware of them now. Yeah, that's nice.
How about others? Have you done this exercise that you ask others what they think of you, your friends or other people, maybe in some events or hackathons, they sometimes provide such opportunities?
Sorry, are you asking me or if the others did it?
Anyone else can answer.
Okay.
I think you already mentioned about this.
Yeah.
You are not welcome to.
Yeah. Okay.
Have others tried this? And what did they hear? Was it hard to hear what they said?
I can share. I asked my friends for what they think about me. Nothing was surprise to me because it's quite obvious. And I was hearing that I was shy and reserved and sometimes quite sensitive. That's why when I look at the board that you are showing us, I think I have to work more with the moldability, because I'm quite afraid of changing. They said that also that I am calm and patient, but with the changing, sometimes it's very hard to be calm and patient. That's why I has been quite afraid to change, and working in a environment that changing all the time, sometimes a little bit scary to me. So I found in this board that moldability is something I need to work extra on it. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Change is definitely scary. Does anyone have any tips of how to make it less scary?
Maybe I can say something here. though I say that communication is my strong skill, I am also a little bit introvert. Uh, so, and also at the same time afraid of change. And I work in a very stressful and always changing environment. So what I did in order to be better to adapt to the new environment or the new circumstances or for unexpected surprises is that always to take time and understand uh, what they are saying or what they want me to do or what I need to do personally. So it's like that's where I talk about I need to work more on empathy part because when you think about change, what makes me personally afraid is that how would that impact my life, my work, and uh, and my everyday engagement with the workplace or with the home and everything. So that change kind of scares me. But when you understand more, when you ask those questions, why we need to change, even for yourself, then it becomes easier and less scary. So that's uh, usually like they give a comment for me like, oh, you are very calm and collected, and I'm like in my head that maybe like I think differently about myself. But if I saw myself changing throughout this process of like trying to see the other side of uh, those those things that requires the change or those changing behaviors, for example. So that way it helped me to kind of be adaptable for those highly stressful and changing circumstances that I used to be in.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Vivian. Change can be scary, and sometimes it also means that you lose some things, but it's the only way to grow. Growing means also um, losing something, but also gaining something. So you shouldn't be afraid of it. It's just things are different in different times, and everything is good at the time that we have it. Next, then we could move to the next board, which is about learning more. So you can add here either through the post-its or the pictures. What are some tools that you use for your learning? How do you learn best? So everyone can then benefit from these, and we can visualize where are the best learning sources or best ways to learn things, what has helped you so far. Let's maybe take a minute or two to add our post-its and photos. There's so many sources to learn from, right? So we have a lot of things about learning from other people, learning from written material, from video material. What helps you usually really grasp the concepts and remember them? Is it when you read something or when you see something or when you do it or yeah, we all learn differently and we have a bit different memory, so that is also good to keep in mind. How do you learn best, and also how do you enjoy learning, so you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. If like some specific tool is current right now, but you can learn the way that you perceive information the best way. So there's options for everything. Right. Then in the next board, we have another short exercise. I think it will take a little bit less than what we have here. But you can first think of a problem that you have faced while trying to learn something and how you have tried to solve it. And take like 1 minute for this, and then we'll discuss all together. We'll skip the group discussion part. Okay, has someone thought of a problem and how they tried to solve it and wants to share with us?
I can go. The problem which I am right now also facing is the time commitment to the learning. So from the time I have started like working full time, it's quite hard to find out or take out time to put in to learning something new. And like work comes on the priority of the learning, and we have to put in time over there. Yeah, so it's like it has been quite hard for me from last few months. I still try to devote a specific time over the weekends to the learning so that I don't miss out that part, and I have something to learn for myself apart from my work also. Yeah, but that also it don't work like almost 100%. Sometimes it works, sometimes I skip over the weekends also. Yeah, so yeah, I want to work on that part, like how I can manage my time more effectively and put into that part.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting problem. Has anybody solved this problem?
Maybe organizing your calendar, writing your calendar up for on a daily basis. Like it's on a Sunday, let's say evening, to organize like each day, specific times you want to continue working on the thing you want to learn. And that way you also prepare mentally and you are more organized and you allocate a specific time. And then once you do, when you start learning what you want to learn, to turn off any other distractions like mobile phones and everything. So allocate specific hours, let's say an hour on Monday, specific times like from 6 to 7. And that can help you be more efficient and more concentrated.
Okay.
If you put it down on a piece of, on a like concrete calendar. That's my piece of advice.
That's a very good piece of advice. I would also add that you can cut the learning parts into small blocks, so then it doesn't seem like you will need a lot of time to get started, and the barrier will be lower for you to actually do it every day a little bit, even if like when you don't have a lot of time to put into it. If you cut it apart into smaller pieces, then you will also predispose yourself to that you can actually do it, and you don't need to have 2 hours reserved or whatever to do that. Do we have some other problem?
By learning by myself, I think one issue is the lack of feedback. And I think it's important to know if I'm doing the things right. And it is hard to know if you don't have anybody to correct you. And also to know exactly what topics I need to study. For example, I need to improve my communication skills. And if I'm not in a course, how I know exactly what to study, how to study. I think those 2 points are very hard, but you don't have them if you are in some kind of course.
Has anybody dealt with this situation?
I can ask maybe not to, because these two challenges that both of the speakers talk are exactly my challenge now. because I've registered for 2 courses, and I'm just like studying them at the same time during this COVID period. But like they said, uh, you kind of lack the discipline because there's no one to check, or and then time is very fluid now that you spend you don't, even if you put it on calendar, there is uh, there is nothing that makes me personally to stick to that calendar. So it's kind of like I need the self discipline. At the same time, I would like to hear from others if they have done self studying before. How have they come up to overcome this challenge? What have they done to overcome this challenge? Because both the speakers, they said is the challenge that I wrote down here. And because I'm a first time studying at this point, so I think it would be really useful if we already have other people who have had the experience to share with them how they overcome. But I would just like to say that I have I'm in the same situation with you guys.
Does somebody have some advice on this? I can share a few things about the getting feedback part. There's a couple things that you can do. So you are a designer, so you can connect with different communities of designers through Meetup or through other communities in your location or even internationally. For example, in Helsinki, we have UX Hell for designers, and they do different events where you can join the activities and get feedback for those particular things that are done in the events. But also they have a Slack group, and there is a channel where you can ask for feedback for something that you are working on as a project or learning or something. So there are these types of communities everywhere that others in your field are very interested to help others as well, and also get help from others. So I suggest you look up what such possibilities you have in your location or your field. And then you can always also through those communities ask for people to mentor you on some particular thing if they are really good in it and you are just starting out. So it doesn't hurt you to ask when you come across such people. The worst thing that can happen is they will not reply to you, or they will say no, but nothing else. And one more thing about the time management is it's very related also to how our brain works. So it's something that takes effort to learn, and it's hard and it's time consuming, and you would be able to do something that is more entertaining or fun at the same time, and your brain associates that fun activity with something that it would like to do, and that learning activity that you associate with the effort and pain to learn with something negative. So we need to consciously sometimes take effort to convince our brain that this is good for me, this is good for me, this is good for me, and to just say that, so that it actually starts understanding that this is something that is good and that this is something that you want. So saying to yourself that you want this, you want this, you want this, and repeating, it might feel a bit awkward, but it works for your brain.
Thank you, great advices. I will try them both.
All right, then. So at this point, we're kind of getting towards the end